Over the past decade, a 520-acre agricultural project in Kenya's Rift Valley quietly expanded into one of the region's largest export farms. Few people outside the local community paid attention until suddenly everybody did. Videos of the farm began circulating online, and within days, social media turned it into something much bigger. Some Kenyans described it as foreign investment, bringing modern agriculture. Others claimed it represented something far more serious, an Israeli takeover of Kenyan farms. The debate spread so fast, but behind the viral posts was a deeper question. What is actually happening here? Because this story isn't only about farming, it is about land, the most politically sensitive issue in Kenya's history. Kenya's constitution allows foreign investors to lease land for up to 99 years, but foreigners cannot legally own freehold land. So when questions appeared online about how land connected to this project was being marketed, many people began asking questions. Who owns the land? What agreements exist? And why hasn't the public seen them? When footage of the farm went viral, the conversation quickly moved beyond agriculture. Kenyans began debating history, ownership and fairness. Online discussions grew comparisons. Cautiously to land disputes many people follow internationally, especially in Palestine and the West Bank. But the comparison reveals something important. Land in Kenya carries memory, colonial displacement, settlement schemes, post-election violence, and decades of unresolved title disputes. So when a large foreign-linked project appears quietly, people don't just see investment, they see history repeating, whether that fear is justified or not. And in land politics, perception can matter almost as much as reality. Many online discussions referenced a little-known historical episode. In 1903, the British colonial government proposed allocating territory in East Africa as a temporary refuge for persecuted Jews in Europe. The proposal, commonly called the Uganda Scheme, though parts of the present-day Kenya are involved, was presented to Zionist leader Theodore Hals. The idea triggered intense debate within the Zionist movement, and in 1905 it was rejected. No Jewish state was ever created in East Africa, but the proposal reflected a deeper reality of a colonial rule. Land decisions were often made without consulting African communities already living there. The farm at the center of the debate is operated by an Israeli investor called Erez Rivkin, whose agricultural operations have expanded steadily over more than a decade. The project employs local workers and exports crops internationally. From an investment perspective, it appears successful. The controversy is not about farming itself, it is about land tenure. Kenya's constitution is clear. Foreign nationals may hold land only under leasehold tenure, not freehold ownership. Online discussions referenced promotional language describing nearby plots as freehold. If accurate, that will raise legal questions. But without access to official documents, ownership structures cannot be independently verified. This region itself carries another memory. In May of 2018, a privately owned dam in Solai collapsed after heavy rainfall. Floodwaters swept through nearby communities overnight. 48 people lost their lives. Investigations later raised serious questions about licensing, inspection, and regulatory oversight. Court proceedings involving farm managers and public officials followed, and legal processes have continued through Kenya's judicial system. For residents, the disaster became more than a tragedy. It became a warning about what can happen when an oversight fails. So when large developments appear today with limited public transparency, communities remember The fear is not only about ownership, it is about accountability. And this tension is not limited to one farm alone. Across northern Kenya, particularly in Isiolo County, land debates have intensified around conservation and carbon credit projects supported by international investors and corporate partners. Supporters argue these projects bring funding, infrastructure, and environmental protection. Critics say communities were not adequately consulted and the traditional grazing access has changed. Some legal challenges have questioned whether constitutional requirements for public participations were fully followed. Appeals remain ongoing. Projects like the Solai farm exist at the intersection of two realities. Kenya needs investment, technology, and agricultural growth, but it also carries a long and complicated history tied to land. When agreements are unclear, when institutions do not communicate openly, and when communities feel excluded, trust begins to erode.